let's chat about, oh my God, there's so much that I want to share with you. So let's open up circle first though. Like, I think it's always really one of those like beautiful practices to bring us into the energy, and to almost treat this as, Stephanie, hi beautiful. I think I will ask Barb to answer that question for you. So Barb is standing next to me. I'm going to introduce her in a minute, along with another like super surprise fun woman who's about to like make crazy shit happen in ReWilding. So they're sort of like, they didn't know that they were going to be on film today. I said, hey, do you guys want to come over when I'm filming the live? I didn't really leave any other details other than, do you want to just stop over? And they said, yeah, that's totally cool. I said, yeah, by the way, I'd like to introduce you. You should have seen their faces. Love it. Okay, so I will introduce them to you in a minute, but I want to talk a little bit more. So you see, okay, now they're just screwing with me, and I think they're getting me back for throwing them on camera, or surprise throwing them on camera. All right, so let's open up circle. Let's just take a moment to breathe, to come into that space within. I really want to honor self in this episode. I really want to honor the uniqueness that is you. So taking a second and just breathing self. Really, 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 really breathing. Sometimes I like to breathe that river of life, so that channel within. I like to breathe all the way down to my yoni, all the way up through my crown, just in a way of feeling that flow of energy that's in, right? Like, to me, that whole channel is my power center. So breathing that, coming into that part of self, using the breath, and then realizing that you're sitting in circle. I know that we're all in very different places. You're maybe at work behind a computer or on your phone somewhere. I'm in Colorado. I know some of you are in Europe. I know some of you are in Australia. I know some of you are in other beautiful places in the world. But we're here, right? Like, there is this container that holds us right now. And even if you're watching this later on, you're still stepping into that container and its intention. So can you give yourself this time? Can you hold that intention of, I'm here, I'm in circle, and this is for me. This is time out for myself. And I want to be here for myself, not for Sabrina, not for anything else, but for you. And the more that you're here for you, like, the bigger and more potent our circle gets, right? Like, the bigger the vortex of Shakti, the more. This is something I always talk about in ReWilding workshops, is the more authentic we are to exactly what's happening, the more authentic the whole circle is, right? The deeper we all go, the bigger things are, just by us being authentic. So just being real with self and being in self, and you know, like, we're like a radio, and we can turn the dial to anything, and I can turn the dial over here thinking about what I need to buy at the shop later on this evening, or I can turn the dial here and I can bring everything in, and I can be fully present for myself. I can breathe, I can open, I can be here in this big mama freaking circle of women from around the world who have said, yeah, I want to sit in circle with you. Yeah, I want to peel back the layers that are holding me back. Yeah, I want to open to my fullness. Yeah, I want to open and understand, what is this life force that runs through me, and how does it uniquely want to express through me. So with that, let's do our I see you with heaps and heaps and heaps of hearts or likes or comments or anything that you want to do. Julie, I love that. Definitely here for me. Hell yeah, sister. Hell yeah. We don't give ourselves permission enough. And as women, we oftentimes like put so many other things first. And so even if it's just right now for the next 30 minutes or so, just saying this 30 minutes is for me. I love you all. I love our hearts. I love the I see you. I just saw Elise's face pop up. I want to comment on her post in the group this week. Elise, powerful, profound, inspiring, magnificent. If you want to feel warrior woman, if you want to feel the fierce feminine, if you want to feel sacred activism and sacred outrage, check out Elise's post. Elise is part of Mystery School in Australia, and she's been doing ReWilding since the very first workshop. But if it's a really powerful post, so want to just share that as I see you, Elise. Sorry for the shout out, sister, but it's beautiful. Tanya, hi, gorgeous woman. She's also part of Mystery School, and she's sharing in the groups now on Tuesdays, which is new. So Tanya, thank you. I love what you're sharing with us. So another quick update that I don't want to give you any updates. Screw that. Let's dive in. I want to talk about this content. I want to talk about you first and foremost. I want to dive into far out. I thought long and hard about this today, and I thought, how can I give us a practice to really take us into that part of self that is extraordinarily sacred, that is extraordinarily unique, that is oftentimes extraordinarily hidden from us, and very well protected, very well guarded. This is what I'm attempting to take us into, is this part of self that's I kind of see it as like the inner flame, as in how do I see it in my mind's eye? I see it as this flame that is unique to me, that is how the light or the fire, like I think of a candle flame, or how the life force energy that runs through me, how it wants to express itself in me. And I can imagine this flame. It's like this inner flame that doesn't flicker ever. It just is always burning. And it's Sabrina's and yours, like Julia's is Julia's, and Betsy's is Betsy's. And so can you just take a moment to feel that, to just close your eyes, take a deep breath, know that you have this inner flame. It may not show up visually like that for you. It may be a feeling. You might feel it. For me, I feel it in my chest. I feel it in my heart. And you might feel it somewhere else, or it may be a knowing, or it may be something different. But I'm just going to ask you to drop into that place within self that is like that flame, right? That is just your flame. And within that flame is the unique energetics that are only you. And I shouldn't say it like that. Let me try to find better words for this. It is like, so flame is all made up of the same thing, right? So let's say we've all got this flame from the same big fire, but how your flame expresses itself and who your flame touches and how it touches others is different than how the woman sitting in circle next to you's flame expresses itself, how it looks, how that touches others, and who that's meant to light lives for, right? Are you understanding what I'm saying? I hope so. So it's the life force that runs through you, and I'm asking us to go to a really deep place, right? Like, this place is hidden. It is often so deeply hidden from us. But to breathe into that place, to open to that place, and to know, so maybe you've never even felt into that place, but to know that within you is that totally, and why am I talking about this, right? I'm talking about it because it holds your soul's gifts, right? It holds your soul's gifts. It holds the expression of life that would most fulfill you, right? That only you can bring into this world. That flame is what you are here to do. Once we get all the other bullshit out of the way, right? All the other crap that we've absorbed, once we've let go of all the shitty patterning that we've gotten, once we've stepped out of the collective garbage that we're living in, within that is what it is that's going to make you feel, I don't even like to use the word fulfilled because it's so much more than that. I don't want to use joy or happiness or bliss or whatever, because it's way more than that. Like, it's beyond that. It is the thing or the things that you're here to do, right? And it's totally different. Your flame is so different to my flame, is so different to the woman next to me's flame, right? So I want to honor that part of you today, and I want to honor what you've had to do to keep that flame lit, right? If you're alive, that flame is still lit. You may have gone through some absolute hell in your life, but if you're still alive, that flame is still there, right? It might just be that there's a lot of stuff that might create confusion around it, or chaos, or might feel like unknown. It might just feel like unknown to you. And part of the path, can you stop that beeping by any chance, Babs? Part of the it's just this full honoring of that part, regardless of where the expression of that is, right? Like, you may be carrying a torch, and you can see it in Elise. Like, Elise, I love your comment, damn right. You can see that Elise is carrying a torch, right? And it's inspiring, because that little flame within her, like, Elise, I'm sorry, sister, I gotta talk a tiny little bit about you. I promise I'm not gonna reveal any details. I would never do that. But Elise has had to walk through fire, right? Elise has had to de-rubble. Elise has had to peel back layers upon layers upon layers. She's had to cut through confusion. She's had to cut through chaos. She's had to cut through all of the protection that kept that flame safe, right? There's also a divine timing to this too. So there's a divine timing as to when we're ready to, that flame to light up like a motherfucking torch. And now you're walking down the street with a torch that's actually outside of you, saying like, hey, this is what I'm here to do. This is who I am here to be. Not to say that there isn't constant evolution, and that Elise, sorry that I keep talking about you, sister, will keep changing. Same for me, right? Like more will keep coming in, and things will keep changing and shifting as we follow the energy, and as we peel back more layers, and we open to more of our divinity, more of our Shakti, and we trust more of that, and let go of any of the falseness or the masks or all of that stuff. But I want to honor that flame, regardless of how big or small it is. It might be like a tiny, tiny little flame, and it might be so deeply buried within that you don't even know it's there. I know it's there. I promise you that it's there. If you're here living, it's fucking there. It's there. And so part of what I did, and I'll share this, this practice that felt really fucking important for me personally, and I didn't know it was a good practice because I just do random things and I think that they're just good for me. But I shared it with another woman who is in mystery school. I shared it with Hannah, actually. I don't think Hannah would mind that I share that. I shared it with Hannah, and she said, Sabrina, I love that. I'm going to do that. And I thought, is that good? I asked her, is that good? Do you think I should share that? Maybe. She goes, yeah. I think you should definitely share that. So I want to share this with you. And take it for what it's worth, but for me it was a really, 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 really powerful exercise. Now, you've heard me talk about defense mechanisms, and you've heard me talk about protection mechanisms in a lot of different ways, in a lot of different live streams and podcasts, and if you haven't, go listen to old podcasts. You'll find defense mechanisms. But had to use some of those things to survive. We've had to use some of those things to keep that flame going, to protect that flame. And what I did is I wrote a letter to the part of me, or the energetics within me, that kept that flame, that mission of mine, protected and safe, and kept the fire going, despite all of the crazy shit that's gone in my life, right? Like, I didn't grow up in a real cool household when I was a kid. I haven't had this cruisy life. So if you're sitting there thinking like, Sabrina, that's cool that you wrote this thank you letter, I can't write a thank you letter because it has been trauma beyond trauma that I cannot even possibly explain. But it's honoring of self. It's honoring of whatever you had to do to keep that flame lit. Whatever you had to do to keep that flame lit. Whatever it was, right? Like, we oftentimes like beat the crap out of ourselves around these protection mechanisms. And it's, you know, like one of the protection mechanisms is like walling up. Like we wall up our hearts, or we skate out, right? But like as an example, like walling up, sometimes we fucking needed that, right? Like we needed that in order so that we could get out of a crappy situation and I could protect this light that's in me. So I'm hoping that this is making sense. Part of the breaking down of this is so wild to explain, and I hate when I can't find words. I see this as twofold, right? So there's this, as with everything, right? There's always the duality, right? That's just life. That's law, duality. So there's this twofold part that I want to talk about around protection mechanisms. Is one is letting go of the ones that no longer serve. The ego protection mechanisms, the ones that are holding you back, right? Honoring them for where they've gotten you, writing them a thank you letter and saying, thank you for getting me here. Thank you for keeping me safe. Like sometimes just shining that light on them and giving them a bit of gratitude, bang, they're gone, right? Sometimes that's what they need, not a Kali sword. We don't always need to take a Kali sword to everything. So on one hand, it's that. And then on the other hand is some of these protection mechanisms are still keeping your mission safe. And some of them are actually really fucking valid. And they're actually really necessary in order for you to do the work in the world that you are called to do. Or in order for you to create the family that you're called to create. Right? So it's figuring out which is which. And we oftentimes can't do it with this mind. We try to do everything with the mind. We've been taught to use the mind for everything, but the mind can't do that. Oftentimes it gets confused and it creates stories and it goes like really wonky and wild. It's part of why rewilding practices can be so powerful, or other meditation practices can be so powerful, is that we're getting out of the limitations of the mind, coming to a place of that knowing. I know what I know because I fucking know it. I don't need to know or rationalize it or make it fucking logical, because the second I try to do that, I have just fucked up my wisdom, right? I have just messed up my intuition, my knowings, my wisdom, that deeper wisdom that is far beyond this mental realm, right? So there's this place of of knowing what's keeping that flame lit. Vesta, if you think about the archetype of Vesta, I love Vesta. Vesta, the symbol of Vesta is this V, right? And she's this container, and she contains the inner flame, right? She's a container for the flame. There's a wisdom in Vesta. There's a focus in Vesta. She will take the shot. Can you start to feel this? Feel. Just breathe. Stand up. Move. Do something. Right? Start to feel the Shakti of Vesta. As I talk about her, you have an opportunity here to open up to this energy. So you feel what she does is she opens the Shakti, right? Which is the divinity that runs through us, which you can say is like feminine wisdom or whatever. You know what I'm talking about. So she takes that Shakti, how her particular Shakti moves is it gets to a focus and it's going there, right? So she works with this flame. She is the keeper of the flame. On another surface level, like there's different levels to the archetypal energies, but the level I find to be so incredibly powerful for work that we do in ReWilding and for just us as women is the level of Vesta that one contains the flame, contains the Shakti. There's a protection that happens there, but it's a healthy, beautiful, divine, glorious protection. It's not the unhealthy ego protection mechanisms that I talk about. It's a beautiful container for your fucking purpose, your gifts, your mission, you, right? That flame. So that's part of Vesta's magic. Another part of Vesta's magic is the ability to take, heck yeah, Julia, love for Vesta, is to take what is raw, wild Shakti, right? Like if you just open up to like the fullness, a lot of times doesn't make sense and can just be splayed all over. So if you see women who have like just had an awakening, like for example, like sexual awakenings, I love them because they're so obvious. Like, so for a woman who just that Shakti has just awoken, like the lover, the face of the lover, or has had this big sexual awakening, and there's like Shakti flying all over the place, right? Like, so you see like sexual energy just flying all over, right? It's like aimed at the 70-year-old man mowing the lawn next door. It's aimed at the other like 16-year-old dude who's mowing the lawn, right? Like it's wild. But opposite to that is Vesta, right? Here's this feminine life force energy, and here's where it's going, right? This is what I am here to create in the world. This is the unique expression of my divinity in this world, of me, of what I came here to do, to be, to open to experience, to express. Because all of that's our soul purpose, right? Our soul purpose isn't just a doing, it's a being. So the feminine soul purpose is how must my life look in order to give and receive love? That's not always a doing, right? That's not always a doing. So we can't always look at what is my purpose, what is my purpose, what must I do before I die to feel fulfilled. That's a masculine way of looking at it. But where's the pool boy? Oh my God. All right, I gotta introduce these ladies to you. Seriously, they are out of control. I gotta introduce them to you. Okay, so how long have we been going? Does anybody know? Half an hour? So let's yeah, I'm just giving a second to feel into Vesta and to feel if there's anything else to chat about with Vesta. I'll let you sit with her for a moment. Some really great Vesta practices are candle gazing, right? Like this would be my number one recommendation for you after this live stream is feel into that Shakti of Vesta, that energy of Vesta. Light a candle and just see what happens. Drop in. If you need to play some music, to drop in. If you need to dance and move around, to drop in. Whatever helps you to drop in. And I would just have a look at the candle and see what happens, right? Just breathe the candle, feel the candle, see what happens. Feel Vesta, ask for guidance. Feel if there's anything that starts to come through. Okay, so that's how I'll wrap up this first little part. And I'll introduce these two super gorgeous women to you who just keep cracking jokes about pool boys and my socks. And then I'll talk a little bit about the divine masculine and what I'm feeling and what I'm seeing. What I'm feeling, what I'm seeing in there. So, Barb, Kelly, get over here. Now, Barb, I know some of you have seen posts from Barb. And Barb is helping to coordinate retreats and workshops. This is Barb. Hello. Okay, and this is Kelly. So, okay. You are not even going to believe this, because I know that so many of you have been asking and chatting about things around this particular topic, and I've just always gone, that's not happening. That's not me. I do not do the written word all that well. Guess what Kelly does? Kelly writes books. Kelly writes books. Yay! Kelly writes books. Guys. So Kelly's gonna help to write something ReWilding. Yeah. I love you two ladies.
We love you.
They're amazing. So they're like part of the ReWilding team.
We're a team.
And it felt really good to introduce them to you all.
Reach out if you need anything.
That's Barb. That's what she does. She just loves the shit out of every circle. It was amazing. So it's actually Barb's home that we did the first 2 ReWilding events in Colorado in. So who opens their home to ReWilding? There's been 2 women who've done that, Barb and Nicola in Australia. And yeah, they actually, you both have very similar energy, that like big mama love energy. So, all right, those are the 2 women who you see leaving crazy comments. Okay, can we talk about the divine masculine? I would love to hear any comments about what you're seeing or what you're feeling around divine masculine. So are you seeing the collective shift? Are you feeling the collective shift? This is where Julia's post comes in. So what I mentioned at the start was Julia left this post in the Facebook group around the masculine. And I loved it. Like, it's exactly, I shouldn't say exactly what I'm feeling, because nothing's exactly what I'm feeling, but it touched on things that I'm feeling within the masculine. Denny, thanks, woman. I would love to know if there's anything specific that anyone's seeing or feeling, and it doesn't have to be confusion and shame. Shame is a huge one, Melissa, and the confusion part, awesome, thank you. So it doesn't have to be just within our men, it can be within self as well. It can be that masculine part of us. And I want to talk about this, how do I want to enter this? There's a fear, actually. I have, not a fear, I don't have a fear of this, but I can see how bringing up the divine masculine, what's going to do. Do you see what the wind is doing? There we go, right? Like, that kind of describes exactly the rocking of the boat, right? Denny, balance and strength. Stephanie, I just want to read these off because this is what everybody else is sharing, and I want everyone else to have input as well. So, sorry, I just saw embodiment, an example. Leah, so totally agree with you. Julia, lots of confusion. Stephanie, confusion, shame, but also recognition and taking responsibility. Feeling immobilized, unable to take clear action, anger, fear. Seeing a huge shift for my husband. Yeah, Brooke. Honesty and humble, confusion, wanting to make things right. I am... I am loving what's happening. I have to say, like, I am fucking loving it. I am, from a place that smashes my heart wide open, from a place that that makes me say it's about fucking time that we collectively aren't just so focused on the healing of the feminine, right? Like, we are, you will see goddess. I was just talking in the mystery school group, and I was saying, it's okay to say goddess. right? It's okay to say, I am a goddess, you are a goddess. But can you now imagine saying, my husband is a god? Who says that? And collectively, like, how is that perceived as men saying, like, we're gods? We're gods. I'm a god. Feel that. Like, I know that there's all sorts of religious connotation around that too, but just try to, like, get rid of that shit around the word God. But just look at it from a perspective of gods and goddesses. Like, gods and goddesses. Why is it that the goddess is okay? It's okay for me to embody my goddess. But the second he starts to embody his gods, not so sure about that. And I just want to share that as an example of just an example, just something to think about. These are just things to think about, right? Just things to think about. And I also share this, I get the fact we're sitting in women's circle, right? We are in women's circle. But fact of the matter is, I've got masculine running through me. Fact of the matter is that I interact with the masculine every single day of my life. So if we think, oh, just working with goddesses and just working with the feminine in myself is the fullness of the picture, we are so incredibly wrong. And it saddens me that we have so many places for women to go. Sorry, that doesn't sadden me. I think that is amazing. And I think it's beautiful that all this wisdom, all of the hidden feminine, all the stuff that went underground is coming out. That we have safe places, we have circles all over the world. But what saddens me is that so often I hear ReWilding women go, where can my man go? Like, this is great. This is so great, Sabrina, but where can my man go? Where? Where can they go? I want to know. Where can they go? Where are they going? What, right? Like, for God's sake. And it's not setting up the same thing that we're doing, right? And I was sharing this in mystery school too. Like, men don't want to sit in a circle. Men don't want to sit in a circle. It's not about, like, it's not about imitating exactly what women do, right? Because what women do and how we do it is so different than what men do. And I'm so excited. John Wineland shared a post. If you're wondering, like, where can you go to sort of see some of this men's work? John Wineland, I love him. He actually shared our Conscious Man post way back when, and I think it was his fault. I'm so gonna blame him for this. I think it was his fault for blowing ReWilding up, was when he shared that thing. I don't know. I know that there were a lot of other factors in it, but I know that something happened with that. But he's a really great example of a man who's doing this beautiful work for men. And there's a post that I'll share in our group today that he wrote that I just want to share with you. There's also a video that he wrote, and we've shared it before, but we'll share it again. Shared a good one. Denny, can you share that into the main group as well? Because maybe it's different than mine, and if it's good, like, let's put it in there. I also will share his YouTube video that he did, What Men Crave. It's beautiful. Now, if you're thinking, okay, Sabrina, you're talking a little bit too much about men. What about me? What about, you said this episode is about me. And it's an honoring of self, and it's an honoring of that. It's an honoring of that flame. And I also want to honor the part of us as women that longs for the beloved. And the beloved in whatever form that is. So, twofold here. Honoring that flame, that unique expression that is you. And then honoring what it is that you may be craving to unite with or to come into union with. And that may not be a man or a woman who's carrying the masculine energy, right? It might not be that. I would say some of the most profound tantric writings and tantric experiences that I've read have been from a Christian mystic, Teresa of Avila, with her beloved, the divine masculine, in the form of the energetics of the Christ light, right? And so I share this from a standpoint, I was having this conversation. Kelly, can I bust us on our conversation yesterday? Mm-hmm. was having this conversation with Kelly the other day, and she was sharing her experience of Mars when we did a ReWilding workshop here. And she said, Sabrina, it was just to have the holding of the masculine. And it hit me, and I was like, oh, that's it. So it's the energetic. So for us as self, there was a moment when, this was a while back, sometimes I had these like freakouts when things blow up and they go really fast, like really big, really fast. And it's like, ah! Like, oh my God, that's too fast. I don't know how I'm going to do that. And it was one of those, like, total meltdown. Like, I get to be a drama queen sometimes. I'm on the floor with myself, just having it out, crying, you know, yelling. And I take it to the extremes, right? If I'm going to feel it all, I'm going to really feel it. And it was that I'd rather die than do what you're asking me to do. That's how dramatic Sabrina gets. And it was, I'm on the floor and I'm crying my eyes out, and it's fear. It's just absolute fear of that flame, right? That flame getting bigger and like being more seen. So I'm in this state of, I would rather die than do what I know, what my intuition, what my knowing is. And there was just this beautiful holding. And I was lying face down on the floor, and underneath me, all of a sudden the presence of just Shiva comes in. And it's like the statues that you see of Shiva just lying prostrate. And, you know, the feminine is often dancing on him. Sometimes Kali's dancing. Sometimes there's other feminine figures on top of him. But it was just that, like, I am holding your allness. I am holding everything that you've got. All of it. I'm holding it all. I can hold it all. And it was, to take it to another level, it's, okay, no matter what I create in this world, it's held, right? It's held. Now I know that we're getting like up into some higher realms around masculine and feminine, and I won't go super, super far with that. I just wanted to touch on what I'm feeling collectively, what I'm sensing collectively. I'm loving all of your comments, by the way. Esther, yeah, call upon Shiva when I need to call myself. So maybe something that you could do, even if you're in that place of like, I'm still so raw and I'm still so angry about the oppression of the feminine. And you heard me roar 2 weeks ago about that on the live stream, right? Like, women are still being traded for a fucking goat when we get married. So I've got that roar. I'm so not saying that roar is not there. I'm fucking angry about the state of where the feminine is. I am fucking angry. And I am not at all taking away from the rubble or the experiences or the energetics that sit within us collectively, or that sit in our energetic fields around being oppressed or around being raped and around being abused. I am not at all taking away from that. But what I do want to say is that the men have their own healing to go through too, and it is just as hellacious and just as horrible as we're going through it. We might be saying we're living in this patriarchal culture, but our men have the wounding too, and their defenses and their unhealthy expression of it shows up just like ours does. So when we're in our unhealthy, repressed, distorted feminine, it shows up in one way. When they're in their unhealthy, distorted, repressed masculine, it shows up in another way. We as women like to think that their expression of it is worse than ours. It's not. It's not. Ours is just more hidden, and it's witchier. Theirs is just more out there. Let's have fucking war. Ours is just as bad. It just looks fucking different. Right? Are you getting what I'm saying? If this hurts, I'm sorry. But this is the truth of it, right? So when we start to come into healthy, open expression, the divine expression, right? Those are the highest expressions of all these archetypes that we work with. Now we're coming out of the shitty stuff, the manipulations, the whatever we do as women. And when men start to divinize the expression of the Shakti that runs through them, all the archetypes that go through them, they divinize that. This changes their distorted expression of it, which is still coming from fear, it's still coming from repressed, distorted place. That changes, right? They don't want to fucking blow up the world anymore, right? Do you see what I'm saying? So wow. I've done a lot of work with men, and when you do work with men, they have different woundings. Different wounds sit in the masculine energetics than sit in the feminine energetics. And maybe I'll just share a few of these with you. Every man that I've ever worked with has gone through castration, energetic castration. One of the dark goddesses will absolutely castrate him. He will lose he will lose all of it. Like, it is a real experience, and it is a scary, scary, scary experience for a man. Part of it is the purification. That's the purification of his sexual energy, and all of the stuff that he's brought in. Now, some other wounds that I see are the not worthy. And that sits in them. Like, I have done really bad things to the feminine. And I'm collectively holding that collective. And so it's this not worthy. And so wild things can come out of I'm not worthy of this woman who's fully here. So then all sorts of all sorts of weird things happen. We just think they're worse than ours. Because they're different than ours. Their expression of unhealthy, repressed archetypes is just different, and we think it's worse. It's not. It's just different. And I think I'll just leave it there. I don't think I'm going to give any more examples, but just the other thing that I want to say is, if you believe in past lives, you've not always been a woman. There's one. There's a good slap in the face for you. You haven't always been a woman. Like, unless this is your first go around, or you don't at all believe in and also collectively, I'm holding masculine bits. So I've seen some of the most profound experiences happen for women in ReWilding when they've gone into past lives, or they have felt themselves as the opposite, as the masculine. Like, holy shit, I have been that. I have done that. Now that's a cool place to get to. That's fucking profound, is when that happens, and that shifts everything that you have ever thought when you get to that place. Okay, so by the way, we're doing ReWilding for men. That's like a new thing that we haven't announced anywhere, but there's just too much energy around it not to. And yeah, so we're going to do a ReWilding for Men's event in Colorado, and we're just going to test it out. It'll happen January or February of next year. Who knows what that's going to look like, but it'll be going through the archetypes. It'll be, hey, let's bring in, there are men who I know are wanting to do this work. I've done the work with men, right? We do it. So now I just know that needs to happen in a bigger way. I also really feel like that's going to be such a gift to us all in the ReWilding circle. So to you who's watching this, listening, to women who are in the Facebook group, to women who just listen to podcasts, to women who come on retreats with us, to women who, Lori, I love that. Jimmy is in. Let's ask Jimmy if he wants to be my support guy. That was my thought yesterday when this was all sort of dreamed up. So it's going to change us. It's going to shift the dynamics of ReWilding. We may lose some women. We may lose some of the women who are still on the feminist, hear me roar, I still want to chop cocks off train, and that's okay. That is fine with me, but it's going to shift us. Something else that I want to share with you is, I see this in workshops all of the time and retreats all of the time, and when we're doing some of this deep work, is that when we as women work with masculine archetypes, there are things that only the masculine can unlock for us. Let me repeat that one more time. There are things that only working with masculine archetypal energy can unlock for us. Places within, rubble that needs to come out, awakenings that can happen, that only working with masculine energy will open for us. That doesn't have to be a man, right? It doesn't have to be a man, just the archetypal threads of the masculine energy. Only that will open certain fucking parts for us. So if we think not working with the masculine is a good idea, we are so fucking wrong. And what will happen is we'll swing from the pendulum over here of being full patriarchal bullshit to full feminist matriarchal bullshit. That is not what we're doing. So anyways, that's a little bit about what's happening next year. How I see it is it's this, right? Like here's masculine, here's feminine. It's this, right? The fucking fullness of both. Fullness of both. The divine expression of all the archetypal energies within self, right? That's the only way that you or I or a man will ever open to his allness, is to open to all of it, right? All of it. All right. I think that's it for today. I sent a newsletter out this morning. If you haven't looked at it, have a look at it. It's got a link to all of our events. We've got new events happening, which I'm super stoked for. Europe, if you are in Europe, I would definitely say start looking at those 2 events in the UK. Limited tickets available, and they're selling out. I don't know how many are left. I think there was like 5 left for one event and 6 for, I don't know. Sedona is eclipse. Working in an eclipse is massive. Really massive. So if you want to do some work in the US, we've got a Sedona eclipse workshop happening. That's going to be a big one. We've got US Mystery School kicking off here, term 1 intensive in June. There's just heaps of events. So also, if you're not subscribed to the newsletter, make sure that you do that. That's the only way that I can kind of share when we're doing live streams. So every time I do a live stream, I'll send you an email about 2 hours before and just say we're going live in 2 hours. Wednesdays are going to be Wednesdays in the US, Thursdays in Australia will be roughly, no, not roughly, will be the live stream day. Not sure on times. Times might change a tiny little bit here and there, but it will be Wednesdays for US Thursdays. I have committed to publishing a podcast every single week. I know also I promised that I would share mine and Stav's podcast that we recorded together on men's sexual healing. It's coming, I promise you. The audio is done, it's uploaded. I just have to get the little description and the show notes in there. Actually, no, I will share it in our group. So here's just a fun little group thing just for the live stream and for women in our Facebook group. I will share just the link. So it's not going to be pretty. It's not, it doesn't have a description or it doesn't have anything. It's not posted to iTunes yet, but I will share that because we're talking about all this masculine healing, and it might be nice to just hear from a man's perspective, who's done obviously he's done a lot of rewilding, poor soul. So I'll share that in the group tomorrow. Tomorrow's a good day to do that. I'll share that tomorrow. But that's it. Far out, I love you ladies, and I wish there are 60 women sitting in our circle right now. How fucking cool is that? Like, there are 60 women sitting in our circle right now. So huge shout out to all of you for being here and for co-creating this space with me. I couldn't do this without you. So super grateful for Barb for being here, jumping on the camera, and for everything that Barb is doing, the big mama love that she's given all of us, and super grateful for Kelly and the magic that Kelly is weaving. It's pretty freaking ridiculous. I think she reads my mind, my innermost thoughts. Like, I'll have a little question about like this, and then Kelly just comes and she's like, hey, you want to talk about this? I was like, oh, didn't even have to ask the question. She's got the answer. So it's pretty cool what's going on. Okay, ladies, I love you. Thank you so much. Next live stream will be in 2 weeks. But but in between we'll have whatever podcast, who knows, but weekly there will be a podcast, something going on. All right, heaps of love to you, and I hope I see you guys in person at some point to dive in with you. Okay.